step forward.
Hello. We are back. This is another episode of the Then and Now podcast. We're down a host. I'm guessing he'll pop in very shortly, but it's the usual co-host, your boy C Diesel, and to the right of me I have Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy. How you doing today, my brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We have a lot to talk about. We also are we not showing the mascot, the official mascot of the show?
The mascot is taking a nap right now.
Okay.
He wants Scuttles. This is usually on any other day. This is cuddle time for him. We're on the couch watching TV or something. So he's looking. He's giving me an evil eye right now. But
of course he is.
There will be a mascot reveal at some point on the social media or something. He'll be in a video at some point.
Yes, sir. He better be. Yeah,
absolutely. But
how
guys,
you doing, bud? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I can't complain. Okay. Just watched a really good movie that we're getting ready to talk about. That I can't wait to gush over and talk about something very surprising. This is a big thing for me, actually, that I didn't say in the chat that I'm going to reveal here.
Okay.
Here he goes. Negrito, how you doing, my friend?
Okay. How you
got? Hey, I'm good, man. I can't complain.
Good.
Shit, we about to get into a good movie though. We have to talk about something. Yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. He's here now. We got the trilogy here.
We're going to be talking about. You just teased something. You just stopped. You said something you hadn't said in the chat.
Yeah, I'll get into it. I said he didn't know either.
Okay.
We're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, guys. Woo! Yeah. Woo!
I play the applause meter.
I gotta put an audience button in here. Do I not have one in there?
You had one.
That's all we got.
That's better. That's better than nothing? Question mark.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Gunn's final pin in the coffin for his trilogy that he started off with. Like the first one came out 14 years ago or something like that, or maybe too long. It's been at least
was it 14 years ago?
I'll check. It was phase 1. No, phase 2. It was phase 2.
It was a minute ago because I was seeing like the end credits for it or whatever else, and I was looking at it like, damn, that was a long time ago.
Let me double check here. Well, we keep talking.
Yeah, but it's dope though. I like seeing when the first one came out. It really, the nostalgia hit at the end of the movie where I was like, man, I remember when I saw that. I remember the impact it had and how crazy it was and how well accepted it was. Yeah, man. So I'm excited to talk about this third one. I think the third one to me personally held up. But before we get into the details, let's go ahead and get the overview of what you guys thought about the movie as a whole without detailed spoilers. And we'll save the spoilers for in a quick second. Okay. Guess we'll start doing it like that. Otis, you came in late, so you got to go first.
I mean, this felt like a conclusion. I think they did a solid job of wrapping up several of the storylines that they had initiated between the first two movies. Mm-hmm. I think they did a solid job of really immersing us into Rocket's past and giving us a connection to him and making him us enthusiastic for seeing more of him in the future. Mm-hmm. But I thought this movie was like 30 minutes too long. Like a lot of this shit I really didn't care about. Like I didn't need like 5 minutes of old dude practicing with the arrow. I didn't really give a fuck. I didn't need all the you're a bad dog. Like I thought that was kind of useless. So I mean, there's a lot of good things there, but I do think that this movie could have been like 2 hours flat, and we would have been a-okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll save my thoughts on that comment in a second, Ethan.
Okay. So I'll say that I agree that with Otis that this is I thought it was a great conclusion to their trilogy or to their story in general. They've actually been in more than 3 movies. Also, the first one came out in 2014, which means it's 9 years ago.
Whew,
9
man.
years. Yeah, that's not.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite, just shy of a decade, but it's still a really good ride. James Gunn was there the whole way, even when they were in Infinity War. I know that he wrote those scenes. I don't think he wrote the scenes that they had in Thor Ragnarok or Thor Love and Thunder. I don't think he did any of that, but yeah, I thought it was a really good ride. It was fun to see these characters have their own arcs, and I mean overall arcs, because I mean even the smallest thing, real quick. Roger Raccoon is obviously the star of this movie more or less in some way, and to have his arc go from being a person who refused to be called a raccoon to him accepting that kind of there's a lot of symbolism there too. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. They had a lot of, you could tell James Gunn's like, I'm gonna go out with a bang with this. It may have been a little long in the tooth, but I think that was because he's like, this is my final, this is my swan song, this is my this is my Return of the King. That movie is definitely too long, Return of the King, but we give it to him because it's the final hurrah for Peter Jackson with that trilogy. So I get it.
I guess as the nostalgic simpy nigga of the podcast, I thought the length was fine to me. The scenes that Otis hates, I kind of love them. Like I've throughout the course of the 3 movies.
I don't hate them. I just thought they were unnecessary.
I thought they were necessary for me personally. Being a fan of these characters, like from watching them from the first movie through the specials, through the other movies, and getting all these characters introductions, I start to become a fan of them. Even the minor characters. I think the thing about this that I enjoy so much is like the side characters are lovable to me. Like Cosmo and Sean Gunn's character, Gunn's brother. I can't remember
his name. The guy that has I can't remember his name actually.
Bootleg Yondu. I'll just call him that.
Yeah.
But I enjoy all the side characters personally, and I thought this movie was like you guys said, a very well done punctuation mark in the trilogy. To me, I know I've seen Otis debate about it earlier this week, but I think it's the best trilogy when it comes to the Marvel stuff that's come out. As far as it's cohesive, it has personality, it has a fingerprint, for lack of a better term, and I really enjoy that about it. I can watch these 3. The second one, I watched it before, and I'm like, okay, I guess
it's pretty garbage.
Yeah, it's long.
I mean, the original Cap is also garbage, so that makes that debate much more arguable.
Right. Which I think I talked about it with Ethan briefly, but the third Cap movie is not bad, but it feels more like an Avengers movie than a Cap movie to me. Like I feel like I can argue that. I think we talked about it briefly, but I think other characters like Tony had damn near just as much plot or character development as Cap did, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it felt more like an ensemble movie than a trilogy that built up and followed this trail of one character. It felt like Cap's end of his development ended with like Endgame, obviously, with him like going back and being done.
But there's still,
I mean, if we're talking about the quality of the movies individually compared to the quality of the other trilogy, like I mean, Winter Soldier is better than any of the Guardians movies in my personal opinion. Civil War is also better than any of the Guardians movie in my personal opinion.
I'd argue, to me personally, I'll tell you, but I argue this is just as good as Winter Soldier to me. I enjoyed this just as good. I
can't get that stamp. But the thing is, I get it. I mean, I do think this was a quality film. I really enjoyed it. I watched it in AMC dine-in. We had chicken fingers and fries. It was great. But I definitely am with Otis. Winter Soldier is actually made me fall in love with the actual MCU. Before that, I was like, MCU is cool. It's fine. I'm having fun here. But that's when they took the game to a whole nother level. Was with Winter Soldier, in my opinion. I mean, that's also the first time we had the Russo brothers and Marcus McFeely writing. Keep in mind, the Russo brothers and Marcus McFeely, that they're the team that did the writing team and directing team that did Infinity War, Winter Soldier, Endgame, the high points of the MCU. Now, to your point though, Dev, yeah, this was a very enjoyable trilogy, very enjoyable ride. I think that this next to, I mean, you gotta be talking about consistency. This is the only trilogy that actually had the same director, writer from the start. As much as I like Winter Soldier and Civil War, that was a different team. With this one, James Gunn was there from the very beginning.
Who did the Spider-Man movies?
That was a Mark Webb. No, Mark Webb didn't do the new ones. It was I can't remember his name now, but that trilogy isn't.
All I know is whoever did Far From Home, No Way Home, didn't direct the first two.
The first two, right? He did the first two, yeah.
Gotcha.
And that trilogy isn't as, like, the second one definitely isn't as. Yeah,
I mean the first two are very forgettable. It's No Way Home that carries that trilogy.
No Way Home is it's pretty bro. So it's, I mean, but again, it's okay. I think it's okay for films and characters kind of find a way. Like you mentioned, obviously the first Captain America isn't great, but it does set up his character very much for the end. If you do it, that's just a trilogy from Captain America to Winter Soldier to Civil War. There's definitely an arc for Captain America. He pretty much has a falling arc. His character is very much in love with America and doing the right thing. By the end of it, he literally drops his shield and walks away. That's how that in the end of Civil War. So it's very much like, wow, that's an arc for a character. He definitely he grew and changed a lot. But it's similar to with this movie with Peter Quill, how it opens with him leaving in a spaceship to go on a journey, and he comes back home to literally back to his old home with his grandpa. Spoiler alert. So it's I feel like they both had good journeys overall for the characters.
Even besides the thing I also enjoy when it comes to like if we're talking about development, like Gunn somehow, at least for the main cast, like the main people, you could argue some of the like newer additions to the Guardians later on. I feel like all their arcs got a good finish as well. Like as far as Drax goes and his whole thing of, I guess, becoming more softer, I guess, for lack of a better sense. It was really sappy in how they did it, but again, it hit me in my chest. As well as I can't say Gamora. It's weird with Gamora. It hurts for like an inverse almost, where she like developed and then they started back over again.
Well, because it's not the same person. So.
Right. Man, again, I enjoyed it. But getting into
I agree. Drax's, you think about what Drax's arc was, he was angry and bitter because he lost his family, and then he gets one back at the end. He's like dad again. So it's like he definitely had an arc if you look at his story.
But I was gonna say him taking the role of like helping with those kids and helping to develop out of nowhere. I feel like that's a good landing spot for him. It would have been more perfect if he would have actually found a love interest, in my opinion. But I mean, that's not a necessity.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like with him as a character, it's kind of. I feel like it would feel kind of weird.
I agree. Almost. He's almost like not asexual, but he seems too like. Not like that's not his priority.
Because even with Mantis, it feels like a father relationship with
Mantis. No, I wouldn't think it would be Mantis, but I mean, it started off with him being angry about his wife and kids getting, killed by Ronin. I feel like it would have been a nice arc for him to start like an actual family.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest thing, at least when it comes to that character. I know in the comics and also in the Guardians game, they tend to focus more on him as a father than actual husband. Like he's mad. He's obviously sad about his wife as well, but the emphasis is him as a father. Even in the comics, his daughter is like she comes back as like a weird character. I can't remember her name now. She's like really weird, but him as a father is like the main thing of him as a character from the comics, and even in now, I don't know. To me, that just feels like a natural arc of him. Like that's part of the reason why he was like with Mantis leaving at the end of the film. He's like, oh, I need to protect you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I lost my daughter. Which you could argue
he's
same thing with his wife as well. So I can see that point as well.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, Otis. I see what you're saying. It definitely could have worked, but I see where they're going for the idea he's a protector. The reason he was what he was is because he was a protector of, smaller people or the innocent. So it makes sense when you be a father in a sense. But yeah, he could have had a family too. Either way, it could have worked.
Sure. But to get into the nitty gritty of this movie, I think the number one thing that stands out to me and probably anybody that watches this thing is if you are an animal lover to any extent, you are going to be distraught.
Yeah,
I know me. Is this? I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there because I didn't say it in the chat, but this is the second movie to ever in my life make me shed a single tear. I had a single crocodile tear watching watching those animals go through all that sad shit they had to go through with being experimented on, seeing how much joy they had together, and then like literally being murdered like that and like some dark shit. That shit got a single bro. I was watching it and I was like, nigga, am I crying right now? I had a single crocodile tear out of my right eye, and I had only ever cried in Marley and Me. It was the only other movie to ever get a tear out of me.
Another animal movie.
So yeah, I think animals is what does it for me, because any human being, I've seen some fucked up shit with humans and I've never shed a tear, but with animals, it gets me every time apparently.
No, that's cool. I wasn't surprised. I 100% let her cry for that. I'm not surprised at all. My friend of mine, I've been talking to, she was talking about how she cried too. It's very much, I completely get why you cried in this movie. Full spoilers alert for this film. There are some harsh scenes in this. Like, good God Almighty, there's some scenes. I mean, I'm not talking about the part where the raccoon claws a guy's face off. I'm talking about the actual scenes that's seen severe animal cruelty on a whole another level. I get it. I don't fault you at all for crying, man.
Yeah, for anybody watching, that was all CGI. None of the animals that were actually hurt were real. There
were no animals.
It was all like computer generated.
No, but I do believe that the Rocket backstory was the best storyline within this. I think them delving more into that was the strongest narrative that they had throughout this. Not insulting the rest of it, but I just think that was the best part of it, in my personal opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I do kind of feel like the villain was actually better in the flashbacks than he was in the current. I was slightly actually disappointed by that, because I was wanted to see a more climactic ending for him, like from all the buildup that he had in the flashbacks, like and getting to know who he is, how he is, and how powerful he is. I really wanted to see like a bigger moment there going into that, but I can't knock it too heavily for going the way that they did, but I wanted more.
I understand there. I feel like it's one of those things where they're going to flash back to it in future stuff to see where he got his tech from. Because they like mentioned it briefly about him having a higher authority, but they like ran away from it really quickly because like I think it's set up for Kang stuff down the line. Obviously,
it seemed like that was either like Kang, because it's the same color as Kang's armor. I'm not sure if he's from the future or whatnot.
Same
but I
type
was
of tech.
surprised. What's funny too is it reminded me of this. I know y'all both know this. Old school reminded me of Graviton from the Avengers. But I know it's not him.
Animated series thing.
Animated series. But yeah, he was. I really like this actor. If y'all remember, he was also in James Gunn's show for Peacemaker. He was the character there. So I was really happy to see him getting more work. He's such a really good actor. But the thing was, I agree, Otis. He played the dark, subtle version much better in the flashbacks, and then when he was a little bit too over the top in the present day. But I still would argue strongly that he's a very, very strong villain overall and character overall. I mean, the MCU's had their villain.
I mean, comparatively for the MCU, he's probably like a top 5 villain. Yeah, but like comparing them to like other movie villains, he's B tier to me.
Yeah,
he I see your point there, Otis, as far as him being better in the flashbacks. I agree, but I think that's more so of like a development thing of like if you're looking at him at that moment in time as him thinking he knows it all, like he believes he's a final product, like I'm the smartest there is, everything operates around me, and then Rocket like throws him off course. Now he's having this whole identity crisis and imposter syndrome, I guess, to an extent of him not feeling like the genius. And then I think by the end is when he's kind of like that's his final. I don't know. I just in my mind, I would naturally see more development and more crazy shit going on in the like that felt like the middle of his development, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, we didn't see him. Obviously, we didn't see him early on, but this is like the middle to me. And that's
he's not dead. I mean, spoilers. He's not dead, so he may come back.
Yeah. So we'll see him at some point probably. Which for anybody that doesn't know, this is the High Evolutionary. I thought it was really dope. I figured he would probably pop up in the Multiverse of Madness stuff because I know in the comics he had a lot of stuff to do with Wanda and Pietro as far as like raising them on Mount Wundagore. So I was kind of surprised. I mean, maybe that'll be a thing later on, a way for Wanda to come back to an extent is what I was guessing. Because I don't know.
That'd actually be fun if you did that with like you're saying. That'd be fun, or show some other more of his creations. Kind of go, But I still think they, as best they could with what they had to work with, I think he still did a pretty cool job. And he is very much over the top in the end. But I get, for what it's worth, I understand that he's coming from a place of extreme like rage. Like he's extremely mad about what's happened to him in the flashbacks from the past. He's more in control. Things that he still kind of had his own world. This is very much like you destroyed me. You tore my face off. Everything I built's gone to shit. I'm losing it. I'm losing my mind literally here. So I kind of get where they're going with that point. But it was still fun. I think part of it was he had like a full blown like Kang armor type of powers and everything. And I thought the end fight would be more dramatic or more
a fight. Make it a fight.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a. Because I'm still not even sure what Rocket did. Like, he was on the ceiling. He was pressed up against the ceiling, couldn't move, and somebody made his hand grab something.
Graviton boots. Remember?
So yeah, gravity boots.
Because he used them in the beginning of the movie when Adam Warlock had him held.
Right. I forgot about that.
Callback, I guess.
And that makes sense. That's good. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm not, with him. I agree, but because I know he's coming back for later shit, I'm just like I'm not super worried because I know we'll get a fight with him in a future movie.
Yeah.
Rather that be like Secret Wars or whatever else. It's kind of fucked up because at the same time as a standalone movie, you want that. Which to me, that crazy, like I want to get into this action scene, but this is probably one of the better choreographed action scenes I've seen in the MCU movie. Is that hallway scene?
Of course,
that's that final fight. Yeah. I was like, hey, yo, this is fire.
And that's actually my issue, right? Like, why not have the actual main villain be the best fight? Why would you allow an earlier fight to outshine that? I feel like that is bad setup. Like,
how do you choreograph that though? With like 6 of them jumping him, and then even with his abilities, you can't get close to him.
They've done it for other movies, like you saw them do it with Thanos. You saw them do it with the Ultron. Like they can figure something out, but they just didn't.
They did a very, very small they actually did a very, very small sample of that in this movie. After Rocket shoots him, they're kind of like they're volleying him real quick, but it's like over in like maybe
because that was
7-8 seconds. It's very, very fast.
Because even with the Thanos thing, like that was Cap, Thor, and Iron Man, right? At that final one.
Yeah, no, even before then in Infinity War, when he fought, the Guardians plus Spider-Man plus Doctor Strange plus Tony, like that was amazing.
That fight is probably the best Thanos fight. The one, the first
I forgot
Infinity
about that
War.
one, the bubbles and shit.
Yeah. That's. I feel you, Otis, as far as what they call this. Something we're doing in a future POI, but the promise of the premise, you've built up this amazing. He's called a high evolutionary. You've seen this guy that actually can take down Adam Warlock. Spoiler alert! With a flick of the wrist, and the end fight with the actual Guardians versus him is very much like you said. It's like
4 seconds.
I think that's like I said. I think that's a problem with the MCU in general, as far as them always looking towards the future of big movies. Because even with that Thanos that we talked about, those are like the final 2 movies of the entire franchise. So you're gonna have those climactic fights in those parts. Like I think we'll probably get that with him in probably Secret Wars. Maybe would be my guess, because I think that'll be like near the beginning climax of the Kang stuff, and obviously he's connected somehow. That'd be my guess.
But they're obviously building Kang to be the end boss of bosses with Secret Wars. I wonder what they'll do with with the
same thing they did with the like Ebony Maw and the I can't remember the group's name.
Yeah, I forgot it too. I was called the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, because even like they had dope fights. Like Ebony Maw had a really sick fight. And I think it'll be something like that where Kang has his forces from. I hope it's not too copy and paste from Infinity from the Thanos stuff, because that's what it seems like.
No, it won't be. I mean, it'll be different. It'll be because it's a very different power set, I think, for the most part. But I'm glad he's coming back. Looking forward to seeing what he does next. But Otis, you did bring up, or I'm sorry, was it Dev? You brought up the hallway. The one because they had 2 of those 2 oneers as far as like big long one takes that were really cool, had lots of happening. But that one in the hallway of their ship at the end, that was epic. That was fantastic,
bro. I was in awe. That camera work was amazing.
But like, why blow your budget on a prelude to the final fight? Why not incorporate that into the final fight?
I think that was supposed to be the final fight, in my opinion.
It's kind of
like I said, there's even Buddy for the end. I think that was the final fight.
It's like their last hurrah. I think what it is too, that was like their last. That was the Guardians hurrah. That was them as a squad doing their thing together. I feel like at the end, what I actually would have probably preferred almost in some sense was have this just Rocket versus Hayabusa, because it's very much this is his Vader. This is Luke versus Vader. This is the guy who literally made him what he is. There's so much invested in that. I would have preferred some kind of a showdown, one-on-one showdown with that, as opposed to a whole squad against him.
Plus, it was right after the superhero walk off slow motion thing. So it just to me that felt like the climactic final battle, and the other thing was the prelude at the end to wrap stuff up. As far as Rocket addressing him, not murdering him, and kind of finishing his arc as far as it goes with his relationship with the Evolutionary.
Yeah.
But again, I see your point though. I see your point.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I'm not knocking it, but
then my biggest issue with this is I really didn't enjoy Ophi, Adam Warlock. Like, why portray him like that at all?
I haven't read too much of him in the comics, but if you play the game, he's exactly like that in the game. And I know the game is a combination.
He's not as dense as that in the comics, but from the ones I read back in the 90s and stuff, when he was around a lot more, he is pretty he's almost like an early Drax, and he's kind of literal. And he's not. That was his portrayal back in the day.
In the game, they had him like a very arrant Drax, like you said, he was
arrogant Drax,
really arrogant. They were cracking jokes at how perfect he thought he was and whatever else.
Right? Yeah.
So it matches up there, but I don't know how accurate that is to the comics per se.
But again,
he wasn't like that in the movie. He was really really ditzy, just an overly strong dunce, and I don't think that matches up to even in the game. He had his knowledge gaps, but he was a very together thinker. This was not that. Well, I
don't know, because I feel like they cracked all kinds of jokes of him not understanding context, or kind of almost like Drax, where he just he took things literally, and they kept poking fun at him with simple jokes. So I don't know. To me, he came across.
Was he accidentally murdering somebody that he was supposed to be interrogating? Or
I think in the game he flew through something or put a hole through somebody or something like that.
I played the game, but I know what you're. Yeah, it's a.
He's to me, at least in the game, it matches up. I don't know how much it does in the comics, because I think he's a little bit more intelligent in the comics.
Yeah,
because
I
I
read
know
in
he's the one that
and,
like ends the actual Infinity War comic
Right.
wise too.
yeah.
I think
he's a little bit old. I guess part of it is in the comic books when I started reading him, he was a bit later in his run. He wasn't as great. This is like literally his like first day on the job. He just woke up. So he's like a baby basically. He's meant to be like a straight up idiot. But I get why that wouldn't necessarily work for you. But I guess also he's on some levels he's so broken that if he had any real sense, he'd be
right. Because you saw how
powerful.
he like ran through him in the first like 15 minutes. I was like, damn.
Yeah, which was that was a fun scene. I actually love like, my favorite shots of watching when he was actually flying at the camera, see that face. Like what's that in Justice League Unlimited, Otis and Dev, but with the Amazo, right? With the return, the episode of the return, he's very much like that in a sense. Yeah.
I didn't think they would actually have him as strong as he was in the comics, honestly. Well, he's not fully there because he didn't have like the Quasar bands or whatever else, or the Soul Stone in his head. But he was damn close. Like, buddy was. They showed you this was not a battle between him and the Guardians. He was washing their ass.
I genuinely liked him until he started talking, and then I was like, "Yep, I'm done."
the one line I like a lot though was when he was like as he was walking towards him, and the old dude tried to hit him with the whistle stick, and it hit him on the side of the face. Like, who threw that? Who threw that? It's kind of just I was like, okay,
that was funny. That was funny.
That's what I will say about Gunn stuff. It's this. Gunn's comedy to me, I know it's very hit or miss, and people think it's too cheesy at times. Yeah, with like stuff he did with writing for. I think he wrote for the Avengers, not the Avengers. It was one of the Avengers movie. He wrote like a line with Rocket and Tony where they were going back and forth. Or whatever.
Yeah, that was Infinity War.
Yeah. Some people, I don't know. Some people don't enjoy it. I like the humor. I don't know. It's really like sarcastically weird, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I think his best writing was actually when he had the time to do the show for Peacemaker. But I think that show is his best writing. However, I think it still worked. Like for the Suicide Squad, that was good. I think it was for the most part it works here. I know it can be a lot of like you said with the Cosmo versus the whistle guy with Sean Gunn. It can be a bit much or self-indulgent. I get you. I got you. I'm not arguing that. But when it hits, though, I think it does hit. It can be fun.
This definitely gave me like hope that he works on a lot of other stuff with DC since he's heading that up, because I think there's a lot of teams and characters in DC that fit his mold, rather that be the new team he's getting. Oh my god, I forgot the name of the team. Not the Supreme. I'll look it up later on. But the Blue Beetle movie, I think the Blue Beetles are also another character that would fit. And the only thing is like, I know you can't direct everything. You can't write everything. So I'm just, I'm hoping that you at least know who to put in charge of the stuff so we can get, like, if we get 4 or 5 movies out of DC that are on par as far as quality and level as this movie, I'm overly happy. That'd be way more than what I would expect out of the new DC returning. If we can get movies like this that are at least this quality, that'd be a success out of what they give so far. It's a good place 100%. To start with.
I feel like that's going to happen already with the Suicide Squad, where he flexed first, and then like I said, the is it Peacekeeper or Peacemaker? Peacemaker. My bad. Peacemaker, right? I feel like he's already shown the direction he's able to go with that. And again, that's more of a rated R or higher, rating kind of stuff. But still, having his influence there. I know he's involved with that Superman movie, but also was it Batman and Robin, or with Damian.
He's not writing that. I know they're talking about getting the Russos. Is it the Russos they talking about getting on that?
Well, they were trying. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're especially hired.
I know he's writing and directing the Superman movie. He's in
the Superman movie, which is a very different vibe. But if he was involved at all with that a character like Damian is designed for James Gunn more or less. So is Booster Gold. I know that they're
that's what I was like. Why not
that's what it was.
Have that like I would have that before Blue Beetle. Like Booster Gold seems like a perfect character for James Gunn to kind of make a spirit point.
I think he's coming soon though, because they're both connected to Ted Cord from future stuff and past stuff. So I think it's either or.
Booster Gold it's on the slate. Booster Gold is coming. I'm not sure when though.
Because I think in the coming, he the tech he has is stuff he stole from Ted Cord, right? From the future.
Believe
from Cord Industries or something like that. Like he ran into the lab and stole skeets and then stole the time machine stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. Did they already mention who they had? I know we're getting off tangent here, or on a tangent here. Did they mention who they were looking at for Booster Gold? Or
I have no idea. I mean, if there's anything out, it's just rumors now. I don't think it's confirmed as of yet.
Yeah, there's no. Okay, I mean,
it's usually that's the one thing I like about Gunn is if people put out false shit on Twitter. He's usually like, "Hey, no, I didn't say that. That's not
right."
True.
And then they were trying to squash any Chris Pratt as Booster Gold. They're pretty much squashing that.
I would fuck with that. I ain't gonna hold you. I would like that personally.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know if Marvel will let them double dip like that, but that'd be fire to me.
Yeah, it's fine. I have no problem with that.
Getting back into this movie specifically, though, how did you guys feel about the Gamora and the Star-Lord stuff as far as them trying to rekindle that romance? Do you think that was done well?
Yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead, Otis. You first.
I don't think that they rekindled their romance at all. I think
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that they really made an attempt. Like, I think he, came to understand this new Gamora. I think they formed their friendship, but like, I think Quill wanted it to be that. She obviously didn't, and she made that known, and he had to accept that. And I think that was part of his arc for the movie. But like, I don't think that they really made an attempt to try to rekindle that romance, at least from what I saw. At least.
Not Gunn. I meant like, for me, when I mean attempt, I meant like Star-Lord attempting to try to get that shit to work.
Yeah, I'm with Otis. Actually, I think it was they addressed it as best they could. They had him in the beginning. The first thing we see of Peter, he's literally drinking himself, trying to do himself silly because he still misses her so much.
Right.
They address that he misses her, and they also address very, very quickly that this Gamora isn't the one he knew. This is a different timeline one, so they have to let that go. However, at the end, they allow it to be that he is able to have closure on her being gone. She accepts that you were once in love with me. I can see what my other self found appealing about you, but that's not me. That's not who I am.
You guys think that was the smart way? Do you think it would have been lazy if they would have went the other route?
100%. It'd have been so contrived. I'd be like, no, because it was a long shot the first time around, but it somehow worked. But this it wouldn't have worked. I don't think.
Yeah, the guilty blood. The sapping they gave me wanted it to happen, but in the back of my head, I'm like, it wouldn't make any sense for them that happened that fast. I don't know. I feel like maybe it'll happen at some point down the line, maybe, but
possibly.
I think if they do it this time, it has to be more organic. It can't be as fast as it happened in the first movie.
Right, because it kind of happened behind the scenes in the first two, but between 1 and 2, kind of
It's like like you went from her like slight despising him in the first into them like now having flirtation in the second, and then they're fully a couple by you get to time of Infinity War. It's like, when did that actually happen?
Yeah, it was all between movies. They were so far in love. Keep in mind that Peter Quill pretty much damned the world,
the entire universe.
Which
they poke fun at.
And it was like, he definitely mentioned that in this.
He owned it. What was funny about this was, I know you all saw this too, with the whole idea of them like quickly teasing the idea of him and Nebula.
Honestly, I thought they were setting that up when that happened. Because there's like a couple times where they alluded to that in the movie, like at least 3 that I can think of. And I was like, okay, I guess I can see it. Or like at least her showing the care that he had for her. I think in the beginning of the movie where she was putting him in bed, she was kind of like looked at him a certain way, and then he said Gamora's name, and it kind of like turned her off to the situation.
Yeah. If they wanted to go that route, they could have. It would have been a weird route. Because part of it too, you're talking about Drax being asexual or whatnot, or not being romantically interested. Nebula seems even more so. I'm not sure if she ever knows what to do with that kind of stuff.
Right. Does she have the parts left to do that anymore? Like,
I mean,
she may be asexual actually at this point.
Yeah. So it's yeah. But I mean, I thought she did good. I thought she had a pretty good arc too, as far as talking about the arcs with the series. Remember where Nebula was at the very beginning? She was very much like just super jealous of her sister, very much dedicated to everything she could for her daddy's approval. Hated everyone else, and for her to be what she is by the end of this, it's very, very solid arc, a great arc I thought for her too.
Right.
For her to basically, almost apologize to Drax for calling him for coming at him the way she did, and that was a very strong arc for her too.
I think that she got the majority of her development as a character in the Endgame movie itself,
right?
Which is like you couldn't get that in the trilogy somewhere, but I mean, I got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The 2 things I want to get into that I think really make not just this movie but the trilogy stand out as a whole are the music and the prosthetics. Because a lot of the songs in here, like I knew some of the songs from this movie that they use in the soundtrack, but there's a lot of songs that I had never heard before that I thought fit very well. And that's one thing that I think Gunn has done in this. I think that's one of the things that fingerprint this series is the music, because most movies I feel like they aren't as intentional with the music they use for movies. It's kind of like, oh, this is hot at the time, or this kind of fits thematically, we'll throw it in here. But like even back to like using Redbone at the end, that original Star-Lord scene and that song will forever be iconic and memorable. In that, like I think they went back to it a bunch of times over like the 10 years or damn near 10 years since that first movie, and different animated stuff and different cameos and things like that. That scene of him dancing to that song has been gone back to, and I think that's one thing that Gunn's done really well is use music to almost like stamp a scene or something like that.
I agree. It's becoming iconic. Like everyone knows when they hear that song, pretty much like ding, 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 ding. They think of Guardians of the Galaxy, they think of Peter Quill dancing and grabbing little rodents and singing it. It's super iconic. So I love that they put the full button on that by having it be the last song that plays as they're doing the thing in the movie. So yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. I agree. But also what you're saying too, as far as prosthetics or practical effects, that was a class. I mean, like even Star Wars took some notes as far as like, because I know there was obviously some CGI for some characters, but a lot of them were just full blown like practical effects, and it was insanely good. I loved it. So many characters. I have no idea what the budget was for this, but it's like jaw dropping. See what they did.
Yeah, I'll tell you the budget in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, prosthetics. I think one of the main ones that stood out to me was obviously the High Evolutionary's his face. Fake face. I got vibes like the Joker vibes there. I've seen it initially and I was like, shit, that looks fire. Because you can tell something's hidden, and you didn't know until the actual scene where you saw Rocket fuck up his face at the end. Because initially I thought he was like a robot or some shit. I thought it was like some Terminator type stuff. And then when you see him fuck up his face, I'm like, oh, something's bad. Something looks bad.
We have to talk about that. So also, I'm not sure if y'all have seen the movie. I think Otis probably has Brazil, the movie Brazil from back in the was it 90s? But they use that. They have people who have their faces kind of stretched, their skin, their faces stretched over their head in that way too. So I've seen that effect before, but the way they did it now was much better than it was in Brazil back in the day. But real quick, just to address what you're saying there too, Dev. This movie, was it R? It wasn't R, was it?
No,
PG-13. Horror PG-13. Because I had the first F-bomb in the MCU movie. And also that part where he's clawing, the part where everything involving Records past is pretty much almost R. It's like Watership Down's original. And then, of course, the part where he claws his face out. And then in the present where you see him take the face off and we actually see his like, I mean, that looked like a Skeletor, but gorier. I was like, God damn. And I was sitting, there's a kid, like a little kid, makes me like 8 or 9 years old, sitting next to me. He was like gasping as he saw that part. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, but this is harsh. This is a lot for a little one.
MCU's been teetering. I think they've been slowly getting ready to get that first rated R one in. Because when they had they cut off Thanos' hand in Endgame, I was like, hey, yo, they cut this nigga's head and his head off. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. This your boy J1.
What's good, Jason?
What's up? Good. What's good?
What's good,
What's really good? Oh man,
yeah, you're right. They've been teetering on the edge of that, and of course with James Gunn with his Swan Song, they let him do pretty much. But he must have had carte blanche, I'm guessing, for this movie.
So the special fun facts that I looked up that I found out is that apparently for this movie, Gunn obviously wanted to drop an F-bomb in it, which apparently that was the F-bomb was improv by Pratt. He just like did that shit with the door. But apparently the rule, I guess, for it to be still considered PG-13 is that you can't have the F-bomb within the first hour.
Oh, it's the first hour. Okay,
yeah, you can't within the first hour. Yeah, because I think that happened like the middle or like the end half of the movie where Nebula trying to open the car door. He's like, "Get the fuck in! Open the fucking door!"
Yeah. It was perfect. It worked fine because it felt natural. It didn't feel like someone saying, "Hey." It was just it's the way that we would be with each other. You know,
that's the thing I love about the comedy with this trilogy is that you can either, I don't know if it's just the chemistry that the actors actually have, but it feels like a family arguing. Like the whole Drax shit on the couch, it felt hilarious of him like trying to put his feet up on the couch. I'm like, nigga, stop it. We see you doing that. Yeah. It felt like something I would do with my little brother or some shit like that. That's like families do in the way that the Guardians always argue and interact.
100%. Yeah, and you're right, Jay. They're clearly prepping for Deadpool.
That's good.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're right though too, Dev. It feels that's what I think that is probably the strongest element of these films or this trilogy is that they do feel very much like a real family, dysfunctional as hell, which is what the Fantastic Four were supposed to be back in the day. That's the word in the comics. So that'd be cool if Gunn did a FF movie, but I know he won't. But yeah, they need to have that kind of energy.
Honestly, with the way he does teams, I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, that's his bread and butter is teams. But yeah, it did feel like a legitimate, real, dysfunctional family, you know. with the love and also the kind of the back and forth and everything. Like Mantis and Drax, that was awesome.
Oh,
They could do their own movie. I'd be happy with that.
And you also see like the thing, probably one of the better acting scenes I've seen from Chris Pratt was when he was really distraught about like anytime it involved Rocket like about to die or like potentially dying and seeing how much he loved his friend. Like I believe that this is your friend that you're really trying to care for. Yeah. Even down to where he was like flatlining and he was kind of screaming. It didn't feel over the top to me. It felt just right, personally. Yeah. Like he really like the movie. I haven't seen too many other things he's been in, but this to me is, if I was to be like, hey, Chris Pratt, if I wanted to see him get deep in his bag, this is probably the movie I would refer to as far as him showing a range of acting.
Yeah, because you definitely wouldn't do Jurassic Park to find that. Just saying.
Yeah. Jurassic World. I couldn't even make it to the third one. I tried. I sat there. I tried.
It was cool. I watched it.
It was pretty miserable.
It was not good. But yeah,
you're with children for sure. I see that with my little cousins.
Yeah, it's good with little kiddies, man. But I agree though. Even the opening scene for Pratt, we mentioned before for Star-Lord. Sorry, he's drunk. He's actual drunk in an MCU movie, and he's cussing out Rocket. And Rocket, like a good friend, like we've all been there. We all have those friends, we all have that family member that when they're getting drunk, he kind of like just take it. Basically, you know they're not being themselves. You just listen to it, and then you kind of do your thing. And that's, if you think about it too, that was the only actual scene that Quill had with Rocket before he went under, basically, before he got messed up by your boy Warlock. So it's interesting. That's the guilt too. As far as like, the last thing I said to my friend was cussing him out while I was drunk. That's a heavy weight to bear.
The acting in this was solid. Like Bradley Cooper is a voice actor. Hey, he may be a little underrated because I like him as Rocket. The way his vocal inflections are, or the way he'll like punctuate or put emphasis on certain words, it was really dope. Like I honestly forget that it's a voice coming out of Rocket, and I look at Rocket as an actual dude in a costume sometimes.
I buy it. And he's a much better, I mean, we've all probably seen how he is in the comic books. He's not nearly as compelling Rocket in the comic books as he is in this. His portrayal is much better in the
game. Hey, for anybody that hasn't played it, I thoroughly encourage you guys to go play that Guardians game because it felt like a Guardians movie with how they interact and the act. It's a good game. Go play it. That's all I'll say. I guess on the same tone of acting, I think also obviously Batista is becoming a very, very good actor in his own right, and I think he's perfected. Almost said Thanos. Drax as a character. Yeah, like we know what to expect, and I'm always happy to get what I expect out of him.
Yeah, I would, if you get a chance, go back and just watch Guardians 1 and then watch this one. Watch his acting. It's like, it's night and day.
Worlds apart. I mean, he's had so many roles in between it to give him really some seasoning. So I mean, it was expected.
Because I want to see him in that app that was it C with Momoa. He's a villain in.
Oh, C, yeah.
I've heard good things about him in that role. I want to see.
He had the easily the best season of it. He did a good job there, and I agree with the rest of you guys. What you were saying, that the level of comfortability and familiarity that the cast have with each other is definitely shows on screen. They do really feel like a team that has been together for years, and you can see it translate pretty well on screen. They really carry this movie because honestly, like without that interaction, like a lot of the scenes and quote unquote world building that you want to say that they had, like wouldn't have hit for me. Like
it was pretty.
Their chemistry carried a lot of that story, which is again why I feel like this movie could have been 30 minutes shorter. It could have been 2 hours instead of 2.5.
But I think that's why it was longer, is because they always tried to. I mean, granted, you can see if you count Cosmo or Gunn brother as like part of that family, but to me, I think
look at his name.
Like all the scenes that were longer or that were emphasized for all just character interactions, and I think that's what Gunn does the best. Looking at the Suicide Squad and other stuff he's worked in, usually when he has a cast, that cast feels like they are a family of some sort. Rather that's being Peacemaker with all the random assortment of people in there. That's his forte. Another big word.
Yeah.
FORTE. That's a big word.
SAT. No, big brain. Open your third eye, my brother. Come on now.
I bet you could do like partaking. His name is Sean Gunn. The brother is named Kraglin.
Kraglin. Okay.
Kraglin. Yeah. Kraglin.
Even his kind of like mini arc, I thought was not. I'm not gonna drag it. I didn't think it was great, but it was cool.
It was
cool.
there.
I forgot. Like,
it
I
was
honestly
unnecessary. I would have just rather kept Yondu.
But the thing is, I think Yondu's arc basically.
They didn't want to pay his contract. That's all that was.
Well, Michael Rooker, yeah. Although he did show up in this movie though, so he was still there, with his teeth. But yeah,
I liked it though. I will say that's the only thing about that second one that I really enjoyed.
That's the best part. The Mary Poppins, that's by far the best part.
Him and Chris's relationship and seeing how that turned out, I thought was the best part of that.
Yeah.
Again, as a fatherless bastard myself, I definitely understand that movie from that perspective. This film was done very well. I'm trying to think of outside of like I could understand Otis's point about it being longer. Obviously, if you're a really big fan of all the characters like I am, you really won't care. But being objective, I think that was the only thing that I could think of. I was like super negatives when it comes to this film is that it could have been a little bit shorter.
Sure. Well, I mean, there was also it's something that Charlie and I did a whole episode review on about plot armor. And Otis, I talk about plot armor all the time, but there was some heavy plot armor here. I get it. I understand. I'm not knocking it, Charlie, but just the Quill was in 0G. He was in space, frozen. He was dead. There's no. That's dead.
Oh my god!
That's dead.
Oh my god! That scene was so dragged out. I don't know how he could physically survive in the vacuum of space.
The one thing I will say. People forget, nigga's still half God. Like at the end of the day, he's half.
That's true.
But he's a god. Him and Mantis are half God. So I think that's part of the theory.
But they don't have any of that power unless they're on.
They did take it away. Yeah, they took it away.
Mantis still has her power.
I thought they took it away from Quill, right?
Yeah, Quill doesn't have his power.
They took it away from Quill.
He only had it on the planet Ego.
Yes, so it's gone. He's cut off.
It's dormant now. I think what it was that he didn't know how to utilize it, and the planet made it easier for him to utilize it. But I think he still has that power.
No,
that's how he
specifically that his power activated on the planet. Like,
was that what makes any sense? That's how he survived holding an Infinity Stone.
We'll have to. Yes, but I mean, is after that planet was destroyed, I'm saying he's cut off from the tap. Like he's no longer there.
So did they say that all his power came from his dad, or was it?
I think they did. I need to go back and rewatch it. But I think they did.
Because then I have to look up like if Mantis's abilities came from her species specifically, or if that came from her being part celestial or not.
Yeah. We'll have to do some.
Because I know the theory that I've seen on New Rockstars is the reason that Groot is so huge now is that the way the floor colossus work is that they like photosynthesis almost in a sense, and he's like absorbing the light from Quill and Mantis of like he's getting like celestial light or whatever else, which is why he's so massive now.
Okay,
that's the theory I've seen on New Rockstars, but I don't. It would make sense to me, but again, I don't know. You already know how the MCU is with continuity and plot holes and shit,
or comic books in general. But yeah, because you're right though, because Mantis, I'm sorry, Groot is definitely much more brolic than he was before, and he's ginormous now. So yeah, that could be something there. I don't know. Sound off if you're in here. Sound off or our producer Cito, anybody knows, hit us up because I'm gonna be right. You can be very much right. Yeah.
I think even in he wasn't. Is he a celestial in the comics? I don't think his dad. No, his dad was just an alien or just like a space cowboy, I guess.
But that does remind me of the question I had for y'all, Otis and Charlie, was just like, at the very end of the movie, the last line, near the end, Groot says, I think he said, I love you or something like that.
Love you guys.
I love you guys. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Is Groot saying I love you guys, or is it this idea that we have seen it? The idea is we are able to translate. We know it. We've heard him speak so much, we can translate what Groot's saying. Which way is it going? What's your theory on that?
Well, what was the first one at the end of the first one? What did he say? He said
we are Groot.
He says we are Groot.
So he changed it up then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also that Groot died, and this is a new Groot.
Yeah, this is like his son. Apparently, it's like his progeny. They're not the same Groot. This is literally like his son.
Right. Yeah, that's what Jay's saying.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I don't know. I my theory is because right before that we see Gamora talking to him and she understands what he's saying. It's pretty much like it's the idea that he's still speaking in his language. It's just that it's pretty much the audience now understands him. We've heard him for so long. That's what I'm thinking.
Because from my understanding, I took it as like again, he's getting celestial sunlight and getting bigger and shit. Because even then, like he lost his whole body in the first half and then just grew it out
against Warlock.
Versus like the first movie when he lost his whole body, he let to grow from a sprout all the way back up. I think he's progressing faster or stronger because he's around Mantis and Star-Lord because he was around celestial light for so long.
It's possible.
That'd be my guess though. I don't know if 100% sure, but
Yeah,
Either that
I'm
or
opposed
they
to
just
that.
forgot. Like it could be a
That's
possibility,
fine.
and they retcon that shit later.
I'm up for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. But I'm also the big, I guess, near the ending to kind of get into the future of the MCU. We've kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I think this movie definitely is another example of them building towards the Young Avengers. Them pretty much having, I guess, their version of Quasar at the end with old girl having the Kree cosmic powers, and then it looked like she had like the Kree quantum bands that Marvel had on in the comics. Because at this point, they have her and just about every other member of the Young Avengers I can think of, from young Loki to Wanda's kids to Hawkeye, Scar now. I think the only one missing is like Amadeus Cho, maybe.
Yeah, well, they probably wouldn't put both of them in the Amadeus Cho and Scar. There's two Hulks, but
he's already casted. I thought they already cast Amadeus Cho.
They did. You're right, they did. But so they have two Hulks now. Is that what they're doing?
Shit, 3.
Scar, yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Well, 4 She-Hulk.
Yeah. Well, I know she's gonna be in Young Avengers though.
No, she probably won't be.
Yeah.
So
There's another
we get into the whole family.
But that's how it happened in the comics. The Amadeus Cho was totally awesome Hulk, and Bruce Banner was still around. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So according to Jason here, Quill did not lose his celestial power. He lost his connection to Ego. His connection to Ego served similar to Thor's connection to Mjolnir. So
that's
I guess
it was.
Yeah, so I guess he is losing. So he does have some of his power, but it's not.
So he has his own power, but
He has
when
his
he was on the planet,
not
he
as
was able
strong.
to access it easily because he had a
He
conduit.
can't access it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
he can.
Okay.
He just has to learn how to use it, essentially.
Okay, well, that makes That's
Even in the first, remember, he held the Infinity Stone and did like disintegrate because he was a Celestial.
Right. But I was thinking that when that planet died, that's why it severed his connection. But you're saying he has some stored in himself as part of independent of the planet. Okay.
The theory I've also heard is that like apparently like he was like part mutant, I guess, is what they're gonna throw into. Because they kind of talked about it with Rocket as far as Rocket somehow being intelligent and more intelligent than others, that they're gonna say he's a mutant to some extent. I don't know. I hope not.
Is that canon though? Like, is that in the comics?
No, it's not a mutant in the comics. Because a regular raccoon in the comics.
Yeah, but they're right that they made it clear that he was an exception to every rule that any other brains were used. He's actually smarter than his own creator, more or less. Yeah, and then of course with Jay saying here too, yes. So this is correct me if I'm wrong, Dev and Otis. This is Harrison Ford, right? It's
gonna be his character. Yeah, that is Ross.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have Red Hulk, obviously, She-Hulk, Scar, Amadeus, which I think Scar came way too early because now I'm scared they're gonna fuck up World War Hulk if they do it.
There won't be one. There's no they're gonna have it. Yeah, if he's already around.
Did you hear the teaser about them doing like it was gonna be like a 2-part series though, like a show?
Mm-hmm.
Where they do like a World War Hulk where it's going to happen, but it's going to not a movie, but like a movie split into 2, but a show.
That could be cool. That could be dope.
Hopefully it is, but I'm like, how do you do that now? You have Scar. I guess I heard the theory on New Rockstars that they have Scar be the World Breaker instead of actual Bruce Banner.
I see.
Which I guess I'm not mad at, but you already know how I feel about that. They've already fucked up my Hulk shit once.
What's the one, y'all, when he comes back, when Hulk, like after they blow up the planet?
That's World War Hulk.
Yeah, that's my favorite one, actually. That one when he comes back and he's pissed off, he starts beating up people, he smashes Wolverine.
Yeah, he solos the X-Men, fights Sentry to stand still, like just
that's the best
fucks up all the Avengers. I'm like,
if they can't do that now, probably he's too.
If he got that broken, they'd have to justify that. Well, maybe not justify it. They would.
But it'd be such a heel turn for the Hulk. It pissed off too many fans of the MCU. I don't know if they could pull that off though.
I don't know, get pissed because the only reason he did it in the comics is because he murdered his family and his.
I mean it's fine, but also Hulk is meant to be always as a pretty firm anti-hero. In the MCU, he's very much a hero. He's very much like he's almost cuddly in the MCU now. He was not really
almost.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the iteration because even with World War Hulk, like they talked throughout the comic, he would reference like his relationship with characters like Spider-Man and how he would chill with them and whatever else. Because they had other characters trying to talk.
Wait, was he taking selfies with like?
Yeah, he was like hanging out. Like he talked. Like, he was
like
chilling with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
when was Hulk ever taking a selfie with a fan?
Not to that extent. But
even Mr. Fix-It wasn't like that.
Yeah, not to that extent. But the nigga like who would literally just like chill and eat food with Spider-Man or like he'd have certain characters he would just like be calm around and just kick it with like a regular person.
Yeah, he'd be more calm. But
in the comic with World War Hulk, when he was more cognizant and he was thinking, he was like, I know I'm cool with you and we're cool, but not right now.
Yeah, don't
get out of my way. I'm fucking you up.
Yeah. But because also the more recent years too, they did Immortal Hulk where he's like full blown monster. He's a villain. He's
Love
not
that
even.
Hulk.
Yeah, and what's it called now with the god? I mean, there's
One below
the
all.
one above, one below,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So
He wasn't really was he a villain in that?
Not necessarily a villain, but he wasn't a hero either.
he wasn't a hero. Yeah,
It was like well, part of it too. I think he was like partially possessed by the devil.
Mhm.
like a demonic spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the Hulk that's gotten more. I like more, so to speak, as opposed to the one we have
Which
now.
if they do that shit, I don't know how they do that because he's literally a immortal zombie in that. They like eviscerated his whole body and like his organs murdered people. So I'm like, how do you? That's got to be rated R as hell.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I would.
I wouldn't mind that being
that'd
a movie in the MCU. It's like a zombie Hulk where he's just going around murdering shit.
Mhm.
I would mind that. I thought that'd be sick to me.
Yeah, they could do a what if, story or something like that.
Mhm.
I mean, the Marvel Zombie series is coming, so
That's right. They actually are. Yeah, that's right. They actually are doing that.
You know what's even crazier? Apparently, through the Marvel Zombie shit, the Evil Dead universe, the Deadite, like the Necronomicon in the comics, was apparently like a partial reason for that happening in the actual comics.
There's there's a connective tissue between the MCU.
Ash is in Marvel Zombies. Like Ash, he's in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
that makes me less interested.
I know. Yeah. What is that?
Hey, you like the whole book before you knew about that shit? Did you read the book?
No.
Oh yeah, but yeah, he's in there. Like he has a whole
I didn't know
interaction with
that.
Spider-Man because he's universe jumping and he goes to try to. I don't know if he actually fought any of the Avengers when they were zombies, but I know he was a part of it. And the Necronomicon was supposed to be like the Deadites were supposed to be a part of the whole. Which, if you think about it, it makes sense in the way the Deadites work. And
But the
whatnot.
Deadites aren't contagious in that sense, as far as like because zombies, you bite someone and it spreads. But the Deadites is a different.
They're contagious to an extent. It's kind of
a
weird.
different way. Yeah.
Because like
it's like you're,
some
like
people
infection.
get possessed by it, or they make the attempt to possess you, and then like with Ash, I don't think they tried to possess him until what the second movie. And then he got his hand first.
And he cuts his hand off.
He was fully possessed, and then he fought it off, and then
Fought it off.
It was stuck in his hand.
Right. We're getting off here.
Yeah,
we're getting off.
I watched the movie, so I was like, yeah, I wanted to throw that fun fact in there for people that didn't know. But yeah, we'll go ahead and break the movie then. So we're kind of already like talked to death.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna start left to right then.
Your left or our left? What's
my left? That nigga.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, I feel like this was an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I enjoyed a lot of the performances. I like the resolution to a lot of the characters. It was just too long, and again, like I don't have the attachment to some of the characters that some of my co-hosts do. Mm-hmm. So like I wasn't like enthused to see them. Like Sean Gunn's character has been annoying to me since the first Guardians, and the fact that he's like gotten more screen time progressively. Just feels like nepotism because it's not like it brings anything positive to the movie. Because like
nepotism, yeah,
I'm all for it.
He was just there for comedic effect. Essentially, he didn't actually like affect the plot. So yeah, like overall, it's an 8. It's enjoyable. It's a higher quality movie than a lot of the stuff within the MCU, but it's not like there's some flaws there, so I can't get it any higher than that.
I mean, 8's a solid review, solid score. Also, I would argue this is one of the best MCU movies in a while. I mean, we've had
it's the best one since No Way Home. Easily.
We've had some. It's been a rough journey, y'all. It's been a rough journey. So I was happy to see this. I had a fun time watching it. The crowd was having a fun time watching it. The little kid next to me was awesome because he was freaking out with this stuff. So I had a fun time. I give this a solid 8.5. I want to see it again. Looking forward to see it again. I thought that it wasn't one of the more memorable villains by far. I thought the characters all did their job. I thought it was a proper swan song for the original Guardians, as well as a proper swan song for James Gunn. I was satisfied with it. Yeah, it was a bit longer than the tooth. I'll give you that, Otis, all day. The post-credit scenes were unnecessary, more or less.
I was so annoyed that I stayed for those post-credit scenes.
It was like, what are we doing here? But other than that, I still enjoyed it. Also, it was fun. We didn't mention this too. It was fun to see them in their a full squad outfit. They had a uniform,
Yeah, I'd only ever seen that in the game, actually.
Yeah,
they had like a white version of it, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, but it was fun to see it. It was cool. So I had a good time. 8.5.
Yeah. For me, I'm biased. This is a franchise that I kind of grew up with from what Iron Man came out with 2008, so like 8 till now. So I have a bigger attachment to a lot of the characters up until now, especially that first Guardians movie. So this is a 10 for me. It gave me everything I would want in regards to closing up relationships with characters, character arcs. Again, you guys know how much a big a fan I am of music in movies, and I think the music was utilized well and had a personality in it. It was able to get a tear out of me again, only one movie my 23 years on this earth has ever gotten a tear out of me, so I had to give it points for that as well. And I think the acting was top notch as well for this. So for me, personally, I give it a 10.
Yeah, I think we can say this too. I feel like this may have had some of the best acting in the MCU as well. I think that's fair to say.
Oh yeah, not even a question. Like,
yeah,
this is the first complete. Well, I would say complete cast. Like, the main squad feels the most natural than in anything. Like, I can't. Like, there's never for a second like I was like, yeah, like Scarlett Johansson is like the quintessential Black Widow. Like, I've never felt that. I've never felt like the who else. Like, I don't dislike what's his name is Captain Falcon, but I don't necessarily like him
Anthony
there either.
Mackie?
Yeah, Anthony Mackie. Like, he's not a terrible one, but he's
No,
not like
but it's not like
showstopper.
Yeah, it's not. It's like I can only see Anthony Mackie as Falcon.
Right.
Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Like, with the Guardians crew, like, they are the Guardians, and they embody those roles very well, and they play off of each other very well. Also, you can tell that they have fun within those roles, and like are given some range to truly flesh out who they are, and it translates well. Typically, it was the only reason why that second one is at all watchable, because like the plot wasn't.
Yeah, I agree, because it had the OG Gamora with that in part 2, and it was fun watching them. But it was fun watching. The best part of part 2 was Gamora and Nebula's relationship. It's very much the Vegeta, Goku, old school anime stuff. So yeah, I agree with that. Also, it's fun to watch. Karen Gillan is nothing at all like Nebula. It's so her range as an actress is like insane when she's able to pull what she does. I mean, I have no idea whose idea was to cast her in this, but it worked bizarrely well.
I agree. As far as your points, I think that this movie only was helped by the fact that this cast has been working together for almost a decade now. So if they didn't already have chemistry from the first one, they definitely have it now from just working together for 10 years. You have coworkers that you've done get to sit with for that long, and kind of just naturally occur that you build friendships like that.
100%.
So that was sick, bro. I enjoyed the movie. This is the only movie I can think of in MCU that has personality, where I can like stamp this as like, this is the Guardians movie. Like, I know what I want to get. I have an expectation of the kind of stuff I want to see. And for me, I can't think of any other movies in the MCU where they have like that stamp of like, they have that personality.
Yeah.
And I think I think
the Thor movies have a solid stamp and personality. Like, they're all just trash. So I mean, like, that is what they are. Like, that is how they are embodied. That is what they portray like on screen. That is, like, that's it.
We knew it was to say it. No one's surprised. No one's surprised.
I thought he was serious for a second, and I was about to be like, "What?"
Oh, you did? Oh.
No, I was completely serious. There was no joke.
He's not a joke. I feel what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. What we're talking about here too is we do another POI on this. It's called auteur theory. So because this was James Gunn from start to finish, and because he wrote and directed it too, it does very much have his fingerprints and his stamp all over it. It's very much his design. He chose the characters he wanted. He may have had an influence as far as the casting. Everything is very much his stamp, so it feels very much like his movie. Even when it has, like, for example, Peyton Reed did direct all 3 of the Ant-Man films, they still feel very generic at parts and kind of weird and off base. It doesn't feel like it's a cohesive. Like, I mean, Quantum Mania compared to the first one, like, are these the same franchise at all?
They embody the same spirit as the Thor movies as well.
Here we go.
They have studied the trash that is like in those movies and just adapted it into them, and then like picked the trash protagonist in Paul Rudd. Like, 'cause who picks Paul Rudd to be in a superhero movie ever, right? Like, what makes you think like, oh yeah, like the only worst casting for a superhero than Paul Rudd is getting what's his name, Zachary Levi, to be Shazam? Because like, what are you thinking there? But like, why do you put us through this as fans? Get us cool people to portray these cool characters. Right done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
that make more sense than the other one. We had to give his own platform. He needed his own platform for that.
Oh man, I want a soundboard so bad. I can't wait to get a soundboard. Y'all gonna hate me with a soundboard. I can one button click. Oh man, it's over with. But yeah, man, the movie was dope to me. I enjoyed it. It made me excited to see what James Gunn can do with the DC stuff going forward. Knowing that he held the helm for that, and again, I pray he puts people in the right places, because all the different projects that he's either rumored or people around him are rumored out to come out, like the static stuff. I know he wants to make that a thing.
Oh, he
We know-
did. I didn't know he said static.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
already rumored that he wants to do a static and bring him into this.
Oh, right on. Okay.
We already know there's a Lantern thing coming, so he's literally messing with all my childhood favorite DC characters till now, and I want them to be represented in the right way, hopefully. So
if they do the Lantern, like this was a buddy cop, right? It's like
Mhm.
there's a Guy Gardner and is it Stewart?
it's
No,
Guy
Stewart?
Gardner, Stewart. They're gonna have is it Maria, the Latina?
Yeah.
Recent Lantern they added into the
Yes.
universe.
Yeah, if they do
Pretty much
that, man,
every
that'd be
Lantern you
dope.
can think of, except I think maybe not Kyle Rayner. I think that'll be like maybe later in the show.
That's
for
fine.
reasons.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm sorry for that tangent, but I just love buddy cops. But yeah, I'm here for it. Right on.
Yeah, I figured you like that one because of the buddy cop stuff.
Yeah, buddy cops.
Hopefully, he has a little bit more hands on that one because I just feel like that fits him. Like him writing lines for Kilowog is going to be fire if he can do that.
It'd be fun. I mean, he did it basically in Peacemaker. There was a bunch of like Kilowog authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, you guys have any closing remarks on the movie? Will we head out?
This is definitely one worth seeing in theaters. Don't wait for it for Disney Plus. Go see it. It's an enjoyable experience, especially if you go see it in 4D or 3D. It's
You saw it on 4D?
I'm going to see it in 4D on Thursday again.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it at AMC Dine-In. So we had my boy and I. We had these chicken fingers and fries and stuff that they brought out to us. The little kid next to me, he had some stuff too. He was talking to me. He was happy. It was the best experience. It was awesome. It was
I had
professional.
nachos and a fat ass milkshake for me.
Yeah, you did.
A red milkshake. It was
What flavor?
red velvet.
Woo!
You know,
you
I
went
meant they
fancy.
literally put a fat ass slice of red velvet cake in the actual shake. It was fire.
Was it char grill?
Mhm.
That did that?
No, this the Look Cinema that I have next to me, like the random one I told you about.
Oh,
I'll take it whenever y'all visit Atlanta. I'll take y'all over there. It's like
Yeah.
right across the street from where I live at.
I'm not opposed to that. I love milkshakes.
Yeah. Yeah, they have fire ones. But yeah, guys, this was an amazing movie to me. Like Otis said, go check it out. Again, church announcements. We have stuff coming.
That's the
I'm not gonna put a time.
big stuff coming. Yeah, yes,
Big stuff coming. I'm not gonna put a timestamp on anything because we just
Yeah.
have so many moving parts that are going on, and I kind of never know when things are coming out. So I've kind of learned just to not put a timestamp on the stuff, and then for people that are actually waiting on it, be pissed off that it hasn't come out yet. So just know if the teaser comes out, it's probably coming out very soon after that.
Yes.
But
And also, we're approaching 400 subs. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
We love y'all. We appreciate it very much. This is bigger than I ever thought we'd get. I'm happy.
You worse than me, boy. I already knew what it was. And the way I envisioned this shit, Joe Rogan, who? Nigga, we out here.
On that note,
But yeah,
No, I agree. I definitely agree.
yeah, the goal was 1,000 subs, and we're like almost halfway there in a year. We started this year out at what, like 230, not even 300.
not even no, it's I'm actually 200 this year. But
Yeah, so you're like 200
Thank
subs
you, Jay.
in not even half a year. So we'll see where the year takes us. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. We hope for your
very much.
continued support, and we will see you guys next time. Another episode of the In and Out podcast. Peace.
James Gunn, I'm giving you a little bit of leeway with Blue Beetle and Flash. If your first movie isn't fire, I'm not